Welcome to Motivation Local, a podcast where we discuss how place impacts identity. All of this made possible with support from TELUS Story Hive. Lived experience not only shapes how people view a community, but also how they view themselves. The sum of these experiences and memories form a narrative about a community. It's at the intersection of this that we seek to explore how these experiences and memories shape individuals. How has their community motivated them? And perhaps how have they motivated their community? I'm Corey Sadlemyer, host of Motivation Local. Our focus this season will be my hometown, Medicine Hat, Alberta. Through a collection of stories, our goal will be to generate an informative sketch about Medicine Hat through the eyes of a small sample of its members. Some of our guests will be born and raised here, some will be former residents that have ventured off to new places, and some will be people who have come to call Medicine Hat home. Each will provide their own reflections on place and identity. Our hope is that this provides you with time to reflect on your hometown, wherever you live. In a story about place, I would be remiss to not acknowledge the land that inspires this show. This coolly carved corridor that intersects what has become Treaty 7 and Treaty 4 land, a meeting place for the Blackfoot and the Cree for centuries, and the home of the Métis as well. Lastly, I would like to emphasize that this podcast is separate from my role at Medicine Hat Public School Division. It is, however, about celebrating the community in which I live and work in, and as with any small community, there will be an intersection of guests and roles that reference my work with the school division. Darrell Willier joins us today. Darrell is the First Nation Métis Inuit Coordinator for Medicine Hat Public School Division. He hails from northern Alberta, moving here about 7 years ago. As you'll hear today, Darrell is proud to share his Cree heritage and is extremely passionate about helping kids achieve their goals. We'll probably hear a little bit about his love of coaching basketball, and maybe we'll stray into his golf game as well. Enjoy the episode. So I filmed a little intro ahead of time. It said lots of nice things about you. I didn't want to make you blush on camera.
Oh, I wouldn't blush.
This show is about place and identity, so it's specifically about Medicine Hat and how does Medicine Hat influence a person's identity. And I've interviewing people who were born and raised here, interviewing people who lived here and moved away and still kind of consider this their hometown, and people who are also newer to the community but have spent enough time here to have an opinion on things. And so I think you probably fit that last category. So thought I'd just start with a kind of an open-ended question to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name's Darrell. I'm originally from a small reserve near High Prairie. It's called Sucker Creek First Nations. It's 3.5 hours northwest of Edmonton. Grew up along the shores of Lesser Slave Lake. And we moved from Grand Prairie area to Medicine Hat in August of 2018.
It's 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years already. It's gone by fast.
From northern Alberta, you make your way down to Medicine Hat. Full disclosure, we've worked together for most of those 6 years.
Yes.
Closely at the school division. What brought you, outside of work itself, what was the drawing card to Medicine Hat?
To be closer to our kids and grandkids, because when we're up in Grand Prairie, our three sets of grandkids are Camrose, Ponoka, and Calgary. So going from Grand Prairie area to those locations, we could only do it on a long weekend or summer holidays. And in the wintertime, it was even harder because you just don't know what the roads are going to be like, right? So that, it was okay at the beginning when we didn't have grandkids. But then when they start coming out, then it was like, we miss out so much being that far away and stuff. So it was like, if we, find the right location, the right, job opportunity, then we would move.
And what would you say would be the biggest difference you've seen from experience from living up north to Medicine Hat?
Well, a couple of things. Cost of living. I remember the first time we got our utility bill, I actually phoned the city and said, "There's something wrong here." And it was interesting because the lady recognized my voice, and I was really surprised. And she said, "Didn't you guys just move from Grand Prairie?" And I said, "Yeah, we did." And she said, "Get used to it. It's going to be low." So it was just like, "Wow, really? This low?" And so I read her the statement, and she said, "Yeah, it's right." Wow. So the utilities, and it was nice to have it all in one bill. Yeah. And one of the biggest differences with the billing was that there was no, rate rider fee, delivery fee, transmission fee, all those other fees that they have up north, which was, most of it was fees. Mm. So there's that. And then the weather was a lot different. It's a lot hotter in the summertime. Winters are a lot milder. Yeah, I mean, we get some cold spells, but, nothing too strenuous for us. And the amount of snow, I remember the first winter we had here, I had to laugh because, I was the only one in our neighborhood with a snow scraper because everybody else had blowers and blowing the snow off their driveway. And I was just like, okay. So I still don't have a blower.
No. There's about one winter every 5 where you think I could use a snowblower, but
yeah,
it's not really worth it.
No. So there's that, and another, I guess, a third difference for myself was working with the school division, having all the schools right in the city. Mm. Because when I was up north in Grand Prairie working for Peace Wapiti School Division, it's what they call the county school division or rural school division. So some days I'd be driving 150K one way to go do class presentations.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was sketchy in the winter because those two schools called Savannah and Bonanza. Most of it is a lot of dead zones for cell phones. So there's like, make sure you got a lot of fuel, tires are good, because if you break down, hope you have cell service. Otherwise, you got to walk somewhere.
Yeah. So
it was great to be able to drive from one end of the city to the other in a matter of, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. It seems like from the central area, nothing is more than 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Not all that windshield time.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really cool. I also coached basketball, and I remember our first tournament, we played Friday at 4 o'clock. And when I was up north going to basketball tournaments, I was not home until Saturday evening because usually we'd be playing in the finals or, bronze medal games. So, not home till 9 o'clock Saturday night or 10 o'clock, depending. And so Friday, we played our 4 o'clock game and we're done. We won, and it's like, we don't have to come back till 11. So I went home and got home about 10 to 6, and Pauline, my wife, says, "What are you doing home?" So, I live here. And she couldn't believe that, I could be home that early and not have to leave the house until like 10 o'clock next day. So that was a bonus too.
Get to sleep in your own bed. And I guess same thing for the kids too, right?
Yeah. Because all the tournaments we did were all in the city. So it was nice and didn't have to worry about busing or anything like that. Just tell the kids when to show up, and that was it. And so that was an extra bonus I was not thinking about.
And how about the adjustment moving into a new community? Was that smooth sailing for you, or sometimes small cities can be tough to crack?
I found it relatively easy. I don't have any regrets, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. It's been a good move for both of us. And meeting new people at the school division and stuff like that, and at the golf course or through basketball tournaments, things like that, or school events. That's been good to meet people, even at grocery stores.
Yeah.
It's been a good experience for both of us.
So the work that brought you here was working with First Nations, Métis, Inuit students and families.
Mm-hmm.
but that experience has to be way different than the experience that you had up north.
Yes. The biggest difference is that there was a couple of schools up north where the kids would be bussed in from the reserve. And there's no reserves here close by, so all the kids lived in the city. So that was a big difference.
And I know, because we've worked together on this, that the number of students over time who've self-identified has increased significantly. And what do you think that was?
Well, first, I would have to say that the biggest factor is having the support from central office, believing in the vision that I had for what I wanted this program to be, and so that it makes it a whole lot easier when central office, superintendent, deputy assistants, people like that support the program and see the value in what it's about. So. And that was good. It was pretty well a continuation from what Peace Wapiti offered also.
But then for kids to actually, or families to put their hands up, and because you can't go from 300 to 500, like that many people aren't moving to Métis. That means people have been here all along. And I think Meewasin would have said that too. What do you think the change was for those families?
I think when they started to realize that there was supports in the school and that kids would go home, and talk about the class presentations that they were part of. And so, the value in that, because I know there's many, many stories where after a class presentation, students would, say, hey, I'm Métis or I'm First Nations, or in very few cases, I'm Inuit, but they weren't on our declared list. So then we would get them on the declared list.
Yeah, and then from there, you've organized lots of cool events in the community, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think one of the first ones we did was having what I called the First Nations Métis Inuit High Profile Guest Speaker Program, and we'd have 2 a year, one in the fall, one in the spring, and have somebody that has done something pretty amazing in their life, and so they could have a good story to share, and that would be open to. So we'd have for example, we had an actor, Lauren Cardinal, and he came up for 5 school days, and we had 10 schools signed up, 2 a day, and with Lauren we made sure that the drama production teams in both the high schools got to see him one-on-one, and so that was great. And so when we have guest speakers like that come in, and schools sign up for it, it's really good, because then students that hear, and it's for all the students, not just the First Nations, Métis, Inuit students, it's for all the students and staff of the schools that sign up for it. So then they get to hear, some pretty amazing life stories and experiences. And then from that, I believe, because I've seen it for years when I was up in Grand Prairie with Peace Wapiti, the sense of pride and the ability to go, okay, you know what, maybe I can dream big and make it. I just have to put in the work.
Yeah. Well, and I know that that's a huge part of how you connect with kids is, like, what's the plan? Like, what are you going to do after high school? What's next on your list?
Yeah, and working with junior high and high school, because that's my main target audience. Shirley and Courtney work with elementary and some junior highs. But with the students I work with, it's exactly about that, is planning their future, looking at what they're doing in school, how they're going to go to either trade school, college, or university, and what's, attainable, and what they need to do to get to where they want to go, and to make it, so they understand how important school is. Regular attendance, working hard in school, getting good grades to give you the best opportunities, and, to get to where they want to go to.
I was talking with Chastity Carnes from the college, and Chastity's originally from Manitoba.
Yes.
And just about her experience working at the college, and she indicated that she felt many of the people that she's met, either through her work at Meewasin or at the college, that most of the people she's worked with weren't originally from Medicine Hat. Would that be your observation too? Would that be your experience with families?
Yes, I would say most of the families, the students that are on the declared list of the 600 kids, I'd say most, 80% are not from Medicine Hat.
Oh. And so from all over Alberta, Saskatchewan, down east?
Manitoba, Ontario, some from BC. I actually connected with a girl this year, and she's in grade 10, and she's from Labrador.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's my second Inuit student I've worked with. Probably maybe the fifth overall in my career.
Wow.
So just not that many Inuit students I've worked with.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to talk with her and to see what she wants to do. She's very academic, and she wants to become a doctor, and I can see that happening with the grades that she has and the work ethic and her, attitude.
Mm-hmm. So what I was thinking about was the notion of place and identity. That I had a prof at the U of A who he talked about. We were talking about culture, about building a culture of a school, and that because people change all the time on your staff. That if you have a staff of 20 and one person leaves and a new person comes, you have a new culture, and there's always a little bit of chaos theory that's at play. So I was thinking about the identity of, or the impact that a place like Medicine Hat has on the identity of the people who live here. But if those people are constantly changing, how do you think? Yeah, how do you think the place impacts families that are new to a community, and what impact do new families have on that community?
I think that it depends on how the family feels that they fit in. Students included with that. If they feel good about what school they're in, then that makes a huge difference, and then they can go home happy. They're happy to come to school. That makes our job a little bit easier because, if a student is happy at the school they're at, and that makes it easier for us to work with them as well as the parents or guardians.
So that connection piece.
Oh, yeah, very huge. Connection is very huge in our culture. Because when you feel that you're connected with a group or an institution, then it makes it just so much easier to want to go to work, or for the students, for them to want to go to school.
Do you see that getting better over time, or has that been challenging, like supporting and connecting?
No, it hasn't really been challenging. To an extent, yes, but not where it's overburdening. It's been a really good experience. I think a lot of it has to do with the students and the families seeing that the support systems are there. That we have these programs in place, the class presentations in place. People get excited about knowing what Geese Kemo is, our May event. Yeah. That has been a huge hit. And, just having those opportunities.
Yeah, we should do a whole podcast on Geese Kemo. Right?
Yes. Yes. Excuse me.
We could have like a drone or just a motion camera up top and catch all the teepees going up and coming down. And
yeah. And then having all the students come in, because again, that's not just for the First Nations students, that's for the students of Medicine Hat Public School Division. Yeah. And that's been great to have the students come in and experience it, for them just to see the teepees, to be inside a teepee, a lot of them haven't been, and so just to experience some of our culture. Most of them are really surprised, like a couple of years ago when it was blazing hot, and then when they went inside the teepee and it was 5 to 10 degrees cooler.
Yeah.
Just like its own self-air-conditioned unit, which was great. Yeah. Although, except for that afternoon, and we had a tornado warning. Then I was like, ooh.
I don't know that anybody's structure is going to live that, through that, yeah. In your time that you've been here, what's something you're most proud of accomplishing?
I think for me, a couple things. Seeing our students increase in declarations, saying they're First Nations, Métis, or Inuit. almost double now. We're started off at 318 6 years ago, and now we're at 606. So there's that. And then the other is that our increase of high school graduates. I'm pretty sure we're above the provincial average. This year we had, for example, in Medicine High School, 29 out of 33 graduate, which is absolutely great. And then the other 4 that didn't make it are coming back next year.
And what do you think in the long run will be the impact on the community?
Well, more educated people, gives them the opportunity to go to, to the next level, whether it's trade school, college, or university. So that gives them the opportunity. And for me, I've always said, if we can have more of our people finishing high school, then that gives them the opportunity to go to trade school, college, university, which in turn helps our society economically and all that good stuff.
I remember naively starting to work in that area around truth and reconciliation. And I was like, oh, we're going to reconciliate. And then quickly learned more and more about the truth. And Medicine Hat's in this. I remember speaking to someone really in my early days of this role about Medicine Hat being a settler community. And because there isn't a reservation nearby, and there weren't necessarily prominent elders, and like some of those pieces that you would have easier access to in say a community like Lethbridge or something like that, that it was maybe more difficult to access some of those supports or find them maybe. And I know we've leaned heavy on people like you and some of the people of Meewasin to share your truth about that experience. And I always worry a little bit that is that fair to lean on people that way?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's great to share with people that are asking questions, because that's how we both learn together, right? And then also helps to dispel some myths or misinformation. And that's important, because when we talk about truth and reconciliation, as much as I say this to my own people also, when we talk about truth and reconciliation, we have to do our part also. It's not wait for them to do it, right? Because I was taught by my Muslim, which is Cree for granddad, and my Kokum Cree for grandmother, and my mom, that when you want to do things, if you want to, resolve a situation or get to a better understanding, then, you also have to be willing to learn and to listen and talk in a respectful manner.
That was the course through First Nations University, the online one.
Yeah, what was that called?
I will find that and we'll put it in the show notes. But I thought that was that was like the modules that were on some of the myths, right? And on some of the things I think that people worry about day to day about, am I going to say the wrong word, or am I doing this the wrong way? What advice would you have to, I think you've said it a little bit already, what advice would you have to people that are looking to do better in the world of truth and reconciliation?
Try not to be scared to ask. As long as the question's in a respectful manner, then that's fine, right? Because I'd rather have somebody ask me a question, and if they feel apologetic for not knowing, that's okay too, right? Because it's better to ask than just to move on and guess, because then that's where problems could arise.
Yeah, or make assumptions.
Make assumptions, exactly.
So I guess beyond just your work, but your time living in Medicine Hat, what are some of the strengths of the community that you've noticed?
You know what? I found it to be, for myself anyways, to be welcoming. little bit better than, and no disrespect to Grand Prairie, but I find a difference. I find a difference, and I'm not sure if it's because Grand Prairie is just more transient in terms of people, and the jobs that are up in that area. Mm-hmm. But I find Medicine Hat more welcoming.
Mm-hmm. You said when you phoned City Hall, the person recognized your voice?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I was just like, really? She said, yeah, didn't you live in Grand Prairie and you moved here? And I was just like really surprised that she remembered.
Oh.
And then she kind of giggled a little bit and she says, it's your voice.
Did she meet you or?
Yes. I met her at the counter to set up the account, know, and I had questions about whether to do just through banking, like automatic payments, or I wanted to do it through Visa so I could get points. And she said, well, then you got a 2% charge. And it's like, oh, okay, well. And she said, and it's just easier without a Visa for them. So I said, well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So more welcoming, anything else that stands out to you?
It's really, I've told students, when I do class presentations, and I'll ask them, like, where are you from? Where are you born? And, and some students that are born here, I say, you have a very beautiful city. It is a very beautiful city and very clean compared to where I was at before. So that's another thing that I really like. And a lot of walking trails, a lot of biking trails. I got an e-bike, so now I'm doing a lot more e-biking. My wife has one. She's had one for a couple of years, and I finally broke down and bought one. So now we can go e-bike, and there's a lot of nice trails around here.
Well, and you've been taking advantage of Police Point.
Oh
for
yeah,
a long time.
Every day I go walking with our dog Maeve. And so it's like Police Point Park. It's an amazing location, not just because it's close to our house, but just because it's just beautiful, right? It's by the river. I mean, it's if I want to feel like I'm somewhat back home, I'll go off to asphalt trails and go in the bush trails, animal trails, and go by the river and just listen to the water and to the birds and I'll tell my dog and Cree to sit down and be quiet, and we'll just sit there for a while and just listen, and it feels just refreshing.
What's the most unusual creature you've spotted down there?
Well, actually, it was up in the air, and I couldn't. I thought it was an eagle, but then it wasn't. And I was like, "What kind of bird is that?" It was huge, as big as an eagle, but it didn't have the markings of an eagle. So one of our guest speakers a couple of years ago, we were at Police Point Park, and I was telling them about this huge bird, as big as an eagle, but it wasn't an eagle. And as we were talking, three of them just flew over us, and he goes, "Oh." What the heck did he call it?
A turkey vulture?
Turkey vulture, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So now I know.
Weird looking.
Yeah, they're really different, and I was just like, wow. So I've never seen one before.
Yeah, they're unusual looking birds, and they just kind of float, hey?
Yeah, they're just kind of soaring, and it looked really cool, and, really couldn't see their head or anything, but, the black on the wings looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, the other thing I found fascinating was to see the cactus, because there's no cactus in northern Alberta. And I was growing up, the only time we'd see cactus was on TV shows.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of different to be able to see that.
Well, and they're just, they bloomed really late this year too, and I hadn't really seen, I've lived here my whole life, so I've seen cactus all the time. And then out at Desert Bloom, the golf course, the cactus will bloom, and you can see exactly why they call the place Desert Bloom, because they all have their flowers and they're different colors, and it's spectacular. So a couple strengths for Medicine Hat. What does Medicine Hat need to work on?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, what does Medicine Hat need to work on? I'm not really sure.
We can't see city council. Because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you know what? There's just so many good things about Medicine Hat that I like. You know, the traffic flow system works really well. You know, the police have been really good. You know, the businesses I've gone to, restaurants I've gone to. So I really don't know if there's, you know, anything that Medicine Hat needs to work on. I'd have to think really hard about that one.
Okay. How about for you, Darrell? What's next in your big plans? Anything? Obviously, you've got all the work stuff that unfolds, and how anything community related for you, or?
Well, I've done a lot more stuff with the city after hours. Sat on a Truth and Reconciliation Commission with the city for quite a few months, and then they, in turn, did some stuff with the city. So that was good to see. Worked with Meewasin. So when I've done a lot of presentations with their youth group, and when we've had guest speakers, I've brought the guest speakers to their youth group, which was great. I've done a lot of class presentations at the college, the evening classes. So that's been really awesome. So just keep doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I might get back into coaching club basketball. I coached club basketball 1 year here. And then COVID hit. Right. And then, you know, there's like, well, I don't know if I want to get back into it. Yeah. Like club basketball.
Right, right. Not high school, not junior high.
Yeah. So I'll see how that goes this year. I'll think long and hard about if I want to get back into that.
Yeah.
Because I do miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, junior high basketball's good, but.
And how's the golf game?
It's all right. It took a little bit of a hiatus due to injury last year. Yeah. Last summer, I didn't golf until mid-July. I had a torn rotator cuff, supraspinatus muscle. So that was an interesting injury. That was something that we didn't cover in sports injuries at university. So I knew it was a problem. I just didn't know what it was. Yeah. Because after it got tore, my top of my arm was rock hard and really hot. Yeah. So when I felt that, it was like, okay, that tells me it's deep tissue. Something's going on deep tissue. Like a lot. It's not just surface. Yeah. Surface is usually just warm. Yeah. But if it's hot, then it's deeper than that. And my movement with my arm was maybe 5 inches up and down in a certain area. Yeah. I couldn't lay on my arm for 4 months. Yeah, that's... otherwise it was pretty painful. Yeah.
It drives you, and it becomes the only thing you can think about.
Oh, yeah, and it was a different type of injury. I've had broken ribs, broken toes from karate, but nothing like this. So it was a really unique, I don't know if unique is the right word, but it was really different, because I couldn't even brush my teeth, couldn't start my truck, couldn't shampoo.
Yeah, so golf was not on.
I was hoping to go on our annual golf trip, and the physiotherapist, Amber, who was also a golfer, she said, no, not happening. And that was like 2.5 months, till my golf trip. Wow. So I said, 2.5 months? She said, no, you can drive the cart and putt. That's it. It's like, oh. Yeah. And she was right. It wasn't even close. Yeah. All right. So, other than that, but it's, I guess the good side about that is it helped slow my swing down, which made it more accurate. So, win-win. Just had to learn, had to relearn the hard way. Right. But it's been good.
So in your 6 years here, you've met lots of people, and I've been asking each of my guests at the end, Who do I need to interview next to know more about Medicine Hat and its identity? Who might you suggest that I should talk to?
I think someone who's born and raised here and works for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's Courtney Legacy.
Okay.
I think she'd be good because, she would have a different story because it's only been recently, I don't know how many years now, but that she's embraced her Métis heritage.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think she'd be a good choice. Or her mom, Julie.
Yeah. And she helped out with, Julie helped out with the event this year too.
Yes,
right?
yes. So I think one of those two would be good options.
Or both.
Or both.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah. Because I know Julie is originally from Manitoba.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't remember exactly what area.
Yeah. All right. I will add her to the list.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Hopefully Courtney won't be too shy.
Yeah.
But maybe if she knows her mom's going to be there too, then she'll be all right.
All right. Well, thanks for this. I'm excited to pull this together, and we'll get you a version of it so you can listen to it and say, "Oh, I don't like that part," or I didn't mean to say it that way. And I do the same thing for myself. There's lots of parts I cut out too. So, but it'll probably be a few weeks before we get to that. But
okay. Yeah, I'll be in a few weeks in Manitoba.
Okay.
But I'll have my cell phone.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Motivation Local is produced by Table 4 Productions with the generous support of TELUS Story Hive. You can find our episodes on Optic TV, at our website, motivationlocal.com, on our YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. Our producer is Corey Sadlemyer. Our theme music was composed by Medicine Hat musical artist Snakes and the Riot. As always, thanks for watching or listening to our podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel or to leave us some feedback.